Greetings, friends. It's your Chapo. We're back from tour, as you might have noticed. We're back in Brooklyn. However, this is but a brief respite before we get on the road and do it all again. So, if you are in the Midwestern states of this great country, be sure to be on the lookout for Chapo coming to you quite soon, beginning with
October 7th, Pittsburgh, Mr. Smalls. October 10th, Columbus, Ohio, the Athenaeum Theater.
We will be appearing with Brett and Brian, Columbus legends, Street Fight Chapo on stage, 1010 Columbus at the Athenaeum Theater.
October 11th, Detroit, Michigan, Majestic Theater.
October 14th, Chicago at the House of Blues.
October 16th, Madison at John Barrymore's Theater.
October 18th, closing it out in Minneapolis at the Cedar Cultural Center.
And that show is about to sell out. So if you're thinking about coming to see us in Minneapolis, buy your tickets now.
Yeah, move on these. They're going quickly. And if you are in a part of the country we haven't visited yet, be sure to remind Virgil about that.
No.
Email him about this.
No.
Yes.
No.
Also,
We're familiar with other cities. What are you trying to prove to me?
If you are
come to Denver, I
if
know
you are
that
from-
Denver
if you-
exists.
If you're from the American South, if you're from Texas, if you're from the southwestern states.
We know Texas
if you
is a
are from-
large place
if
we
you are-
haven't visited.
If you are from the Great Plains states, if you are from Australia, Great Britain, Ireland, Canada, any of those places, the only reason we have not booked a tour yet to your city is Virgil, Texas is stopping us from doing it. Please let him know how you feel.
Also, they named the venue in Pittsburgh after his penis.
No, they didn't. You can find these tickets at chapotraphouse.com/tour.
It's Chapo. Let's go. Okay. Greetings, everybody. It's Monday. We're kicking off the week. We're coming in hot. It's Chapo Trap House back from tour.
Hell
back
yes.
on our regularly scheduled podcast schedule, which is strictly enforced. If we ever deviate from the schedule, please make note of it. Please comment on the Reddit. If the show is a minute late, do not hesitate to let Virgil know about it.
Even if there were extra episodes dropped during the weekend, make sure that you comment on the fact that it's a day late. Do that.
We've established this schedule, and we live and die by it. Folks, it's three of us today. Me, Will Menaker, Matt Christman,
Hey, boys.
Virgil, Texas.
Hey, everyone. I did get an email the other day by somebody who took issue with something Felix said on an episode. So I wrote
That's never happened before.
So I wrote a polite, even-handed response explaining the joke and things of that nature. And the guy said, I'm sorry. I shouldn't be writing emails when I'm mad. I take it you don't enjoy this.
Wow.
See? That's a
People
productive-
learning.
That's a productive conversation.
Yeah. Fuck you if you think we don't teach people.
Yeah.
We teach people praxis. Like, stop annoying us.
So, as I said, we are back from tour. This is the first official Chapo, the first free non-premium Chapo we've done since last Tuesday at the Bell House, where we
Yes.
closed out the northeast leg of our tour.
Triumphant.
Beautiful.
And I want to dive right into it. If you were at the Bell House or you listened to our Best of New
If you were
England,
at the Bell House, do you have my headphones?
if you listened to part 2 of our Best of New England tour, you saw our onstage rundown of the Brett Kavanaugh saga to date.
Man.
But holy shit, since Tuesday, things have happened.
That's the thing about this year. Things just keep happening.
Everything happens so much.
It's like
As
happening
Horsey
way
Book
more.
said.
It really seems like things are happening more than they used to.
Folks, we need to talk about Brett.
Mm-hmm.
We need to talk about Brett. So,
He's troubled. He's a troubled lad.
and where
He's
we
a bad
last
nominee, Brett.
So, where we last left our heroes, we were on stage at the Bell House discussing Brett Kavanaugh. And then we had discussed some of the hilarious conservative reactions to explaining away this very credible allegation of sexual assault. We discussed Brett Kavanaugh's own bizarre media rollout and history, which involves not just his hundreds of thousands of dollars in unpaid debts that were mysteriously wiped out.
That's just
His shady emails to friends about maintaining absolute OPSEC secrecy from spouses and everyone else concerning just what they were doing on a lad's weekend. His, again, bizarre, his defenders and PR shops' bizarre fixation on how much time he spends with underage girls.
He just loves those
coaching
girls.
them,
He
mentoring
loves
them.
molding young women.
Since then, it's gotten even weirder. And
man.
I said on stage at the Bell House that Virgil, I was like, you were the first person to say, like, I think he's done. And up until just that afternoon, I was thinking, none of this matters. They're going to get their guy. They're going to have the vote. He's going to be on the Supreme Court. Hell World 2018 continues apace. I said on stage, and now I honestly, he's circling the drain. And by this week, I think he's almost for sure done.
Yeah, and the reason is very simple. Like, the last time this happened, you had a prolonged sexual harassment or assault allegation against a Supreme Court nominee. It was Clarence Thomas. And that was the Bush administration filling Thurgood Marshall's seat on the court. There was a real need for it to be a African-American nominee. And the ranks of African-American qualified, like, federal judges who were conservative enough to put on the bench for a Republican, it was pretty thin. So they really didn't have a lot to choose from. Now, the Federal Society, they have a fucking injection molding machine in their basement where they just squirt out fucking cottage cheese into a mold that forms into these psychopaths. And there's just hundreds of them. They can just drop him and put in a woman tomorrow, and this all ends. And they confirm him in 2 days.
However, they could rush it. However, there is some speculation that they're kind of fucked, that like people are saying there might not be a way for them to hold this vote before the midterms.
See, that would be the problem.
Yeah.
So they're I'm kind of amazed. Like, this is what they've been waiting for a generation.
Yes.
You see it in the
They've been
defenses
working
of
for this
Kavanaugh.
for decades.
For
the Federalist
decades.
Society has been orchestrating
to
this.
finally get an ultra right-wing majority on the Supreme Court to rewrite about a century's worth of laws and precedent.
And that project almost totally fell apart with Donald Trump, but they stuck to it.
Usually, I think these guys are like, relentlessly, ruthless and organized in terms of achieving their evil goals. But even I'm kind of impressed about how badly they fucked this one up.
Astounding.
This Kavanaugh guy.
This is an bungle.
There's a million of these motherfuckers.
Okay, here's the thing. As I said, as of last Tuesday, they were in this terrible position of having, what is by any accounts a very credible accusation from a person who has since chosen to be interviewed, go on the record, and is literally begging to be interviewed by the FBI.
Yeah.
The other two principals in this case, Brett Kavanaugh and Mark Judge, conspicuously do not want to be interviewed by the FBI. Make of that what you will. Okay, so if you are the conservative media, we discussed Meghan McArdle and John Podhoretz's reactions to this, was essentially, I don't care if a teenage murderer gets on the Supreme Court, you shouldn't judge anyone for anything they did when they were 17, to wasn't it funny in Revenge of the Nerds when Lewis raped that woman?
Yes.
That was that was the conservative media reaction so far. Hasn't exactly been, burning up the charts with those ones. So they're in a very tough position now where they understand how bad it would look for this woman to testify and go on the record and then immediately be accused of lying by a barrage of like Dan Aykroyd from that movie. What's it?
Judge Falkenheiser.
Yeah, exactly.
To testify the Senate Judiciary Committee, where every Republican member is a white man.
They literally were proposing having their female aides do the questioning.
They know how bad it looks. They know that you can't get away with that now, and they know that that's going to be a shit show.
They know it puts them in like with women voters and with just non-insane people as a whole. Generally, it looks bad when someone who comes forward to say, I was a victim of a sexual assault, to immediately say, you're lying. So, what did they come up with? All throughout that week, last week, you began to hear little rumblings among the conservative lanyards that by the end of the week, this Kavanaugh thing will be put to bed, his name will be exonerated, apologies will be issued forthrightly, and he will get on the court. All of this was circling around this guy, Ed Whelan, who, I remember from my long ago blog days as being a conservative shitheel par excellence, a guy at the highest levels of elite conservative legal thought and advocacy. He's a longtime writer for the National Review. He is someone who is genuinely regarded on the right wing as probably one of their best legal minds.
What is conservative legal thought? What is that boiled down to?
It's every Leonardo DiCaprio speech from Django Unchained.
Okay.
Okay, so we began to see rumblings of this theory, this idea that there was something out there that would both exonerate Kavanaugh and spare them the difficulty of having to forthrightly and openly accuse a woman of lying about a sexual assault.
Yeah.
That theory, the doppelganger theory.
The double Kavanaugh.
The double Kavanaugh.
Which, by the way, the fact that they were teasing it means this was all being organized behind the scenes. They all knew about it. They're all on the Slack channels and fucking WhatsApps talking about it.
Brett,
God, I bet those Slack channels smell like cum.
Ed Whelan is a guy who is not only very close friends with Kavanaugh, he was working hand in glove with the top right-wing PR shop who was backing up this confirmation. This was not just a fly-by-night Twitter thread, Eric Garland, you snort a line of Adderall, drink an IPA, fire off 70 tweets on a Friday night. This was a well-coordinated and planned-out thing, which allowed them to claim that Ford is telling the truth about her assault, but misremembering who did it to her. Ed Whelan debuted this theory on Friday, I think, that involved about a 70-tweet thread that involved the floor plans and Google Map shots of the house where this incident supposedly took place in. And the denouement of this entire thing was literally accusing someone else of doing this crime. Naming this person and using yearbook photos to claim that Kavanaugh and this other guy look almost identical to each other. Anyone who would look at those two yearbook photos would say they look, I suppose, vaguely alike in the same way two people in a soft-focus black and white prep school yearbook shot from the same era would generally kind of look of being white guys of general.
Where everyone has the same haircut.
Yeah, the same hockey,
the same
like
pose.
bangs or whatever.
They're thirsty mayo boys with mop tops.
But in no way was this a dead ringers situation. Soon thereafter, Ford said, I know who the person in question that's being, again, falsely accused in this context is, and I know who Brett Kavanaugh is, and there's no way I would mistake them. I 100% stand by my story. When this doppelganger thing came out, I saw all day online all of these thirsty conservative lanyards who were looking for this life preserver. They grabbed onto it with both hands, and they were so excited for about an hour. I swear to God, I saw every conservative wonk and lanyard literally tweet things like, oh boy, never bet against Whelan. Ed Whelan, you demand. Ed Whelan is gangsta. There's a new sheriff in town, and his name's Ed Whelan. And for a second there, I thought, they're going to get away with this too. This is just a little fig leaf that they're going to provide to have the media be like, oh, well, it could be this. And then most importantly, people on the Senate Judiciary Committee to be like, well, that covers that. That's the plausible deniability we need.
Yeah, you're going to get Grassley out there being like, you could see the chins here are very similar.
I thought for a second it was going to work because I really have, I could not have any possible of a lower opinion of the intelligence or credulity of the Washington media.
Of course not. Absolute bird brains.
Holy shit, did this thing fall face fucking first almost immediately.
Even those people were like, are you fucking kidding? You're literally accusing a random person of sexual assault. You are doing the thing that all the conservatives fretted about when Me Too began of, look, we want to see justice done, but we don't want to see crazy accusations harming innocent people. And this motherfucker's just like, yeah, that dude did it.
Well, it probably didn't help that they spent all this time talking about Porky's and other 80s movies. And then their next big gambit was to pluck a plot line from a Minor Dynasty spinoff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very stuck in the 80s plot-wise.
In addition to the fact that Kavanaugh and the guy who was accused of doing his crime looked, I guess, vaguely similar. Yeah. Another big, again, top legal mind on the right, a guy who writes for the National Review. These people talk about him in hushed tones, like he's like, Solomon or something.
Fucking Perry Mason.
Another big element of this theory was that according to the Street View and Google Maps, the house the party took place at was not within walking distance of Brett Kavanaugh's house. So there's no way he would have gone to that party.
In the suburbs? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You only walk. If you live in the suburbs, my fellow suburbanites will tell us this. You walk everywhere. The whole thing is built around walking. It's not like you drive to like buy a pack of gum.
And just to show you that like this was again not just like a Adderall induced like speedball Eric Garland fucking tweet storm of just some desperate flaying attempt to just, I don't know, cover one's own ass and credibility after going to bat so hard for fucking Kavanaugh. This was put out there. That whole week they had spent sort of feeding the media and seeding it.
Teasing it.
And wouldn't you know, there was one person dumb enough to fucking just take this gills deep. And I'm talking, of course, about Kathleen Parker in the Washington Post, who wrote an opinion column on Friday called "Is There a Kavanaugh Doppelganger?" that was honestly one of the lamest attempts. And again, if you are a conservative who has been spending the last 60 years salivating over this moment, you can't feel good about this is where this guy's defense is at.
Yeah.
I just want to read
You
a little
don't want
bit.
evil twins involved if you're trying to be credible at defense.
You cannot feel good about where this is going. I just want to read a little bit from Kathleen Parker here, who is just, an absolute nitwit. This is the only person who is like,
What a scoop.
willing to run with this.
I woke up and I saw that. I saw people talking about it, and I just chuckled to myself and thought, boy, the universe is really on one today.
This is how it begins. In one of Brett M. Kavanaugh's responses to allegations that he sexually assaulted a 15-year-old girl when he was in high school, a charge he has denied categorically and unequivocally, he suggested perhaps this was a case of mistaken identity. Senator Orrin G. Hatch, a member of the Judiciary Committee, reiterated this notion, saying that perhaps the accuser was mixed up. And on Tuesday, the Wall Street Journal's editorial board also floated the possibility of mistaken identity. Again, weird how they've all found this mistaken identity thing at the same time.
By themselves getting the same idea.
As
which means it's
crazy
true.
as that sounds, it wouldn't be unheard of. And given the high regard in which Kavanaugh has been held throughout his life, including during high school, it would make the most sense. Oh, would it? Would this make the most sense? And by the way, I have yet to see a single person who didn't star in the film Salo, who holds Brett Kavanaugh in high regard.
Is it just the other fucking creeps in the fucking rape prep school economy who
Yeah.
hold him in high regard?
Yeah, it's the other bad guys from Animal House, and every grasping fucking networking piece of shit who wants like the fact that their kid was one of his clerks to be on the resume or whatever.
Could there have been another Kavanaugh-ish looking teen at the house that night who might have attacked Ford?
Kavanaghian.
For his part, Judge has written in a memoir that he was a ubiquitous presence at alcohol-drenched parties in high school. She's speaking, of course, about Mark Judge, basically the only other character witness that matters in the case for Brett Kavanaugh.
And a stone mutant, as we've discussed.
Honestly, I talked about it at the Rhode Island Live show. We didn't put it out. I've refrained from talking about it on the show. Because it's too fucking weird and I don't want to end up sounding like a Pizzagate person. But if you were looking to follow a particular white rabbit, check out this Mark Judge guy.
Oh boy.
All I will say is by any objective standard, he is a sexually deranged lunatic.
100%.
100%.
No question.
And he is the only other guy who is testifying to Kavanaugh's defense.
Yeah.
His entire character defense hinges on this one guy
Yes.
who is also in the room, allegedly, and also his accomplice
Yes.
in this alleged crime, saying, oh, yeah, Brett would never do that.
Yeah, yeah.
A guy who spent literally his entire adult life just like doing and saying some of the weirdest, most vile things about not just about sex in general, but also about rape accusations and women in general.
His YouTube page, look that up if you can. It's hair-raising.
Again, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole on the show.
But seriously, like the Pizzagate people spent a year looking at fucking photographs of art exhibits that went in some pizza restaurant. Take a look at these fucking YouTube clips. Jesus Christ.
Okay. So he says, Kathleen writes here, cases of mistaken identity are far from rare. People with the same name are often confused, as was the case of Ford herself. On Monday, Drudge Report tweeted a link to an article on another site that seemed to intended to discredit her with negative comments by her former students. But it turned out the reviews pertained to another California professor named Christine Ford. So this is Kathleen Parker. In an attempt to make the doppelganger theory appear more credible, cites the Drudge Report fucking it up already and talking about the same name instead of looking identical to the person.
Yeah.
So again, weird that the Drudge Report would also be running with this idea. Seems a coincidence. Mix-ups owing to physical similarities are less common but weirder and potentially deadly. If he were still alive, one would need only ask John Dillinger's doppelganger, a poor fellow by the name of Ralph Alsman. Dillinger and Alsman shared an incredible physical resemblance, including similar moles, blah, 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 blah.
Oh my God.
She goes on
Are
with
you
this
fucking
to use the one case of John Dillinger's doppelganger. So this is where she says, this is where it really gets good at the end. She says, thus, giving both the benefit of the doubt, it seems possible to believe both that Ford was assaulted just as she had just described, and also that Kavanaugh didn't do it. In a case without evidence, witnesses, or corroboration, mistaken identity would prove a welcome resolution to this terrible riddle. And then she ends the article with just anyone, ?
I just love that. She literally blays out at the end there. This has nothing to do with plausibility or reality. It's just, this is the nicest way to get out of this.
Yep.
This is the most,
She just
this
says
is
it.
the most pleasing way to not have to accuse someone of lying about a sexual assault.
She goes, this is an explanation that would make everyone happy.
Yeah, so
Any takers?
Let's just take this, guys. Huh? Let's
Any
just throw it out there.
takers?
Hey, you know what? According to string theory, there are infinite Brett Kavanaughs. So one of them clearly is innocent, at least.
So in somewhere there is a universe in which he wasn't an absolute sex creep
Exactly.
and rapist
How do
in
we
high
know
school.
that that's not him? We can't know.
Folks, have you ever seen the show Sliders? It starred
this
Jerry
on-
O'Connell. It was on in the 90s.
I to put this out there, maybe that other guy quantum leapt into Brett
Yeah,
Kavanaugh's
exactly.
body.
Yeah, Scott Bakula was trying to stop them from putting a fucking hard right judiciary in power for the next 100 years.
So the answer to Kathleen's question, any takers, and Ed Whelan is literally none.
Yeah, zero people.
And almost all of them, they knew immediately how fucking shit this was. And they all backed away from it immediately.
It was so
And then
funny.
the next morning, Ed Whelan had to come out and go, I've deleted all the tweets. I've deeply apologized.
Please don't sue me.
Please don't sue me for literally libeling you of a crime. And then he has since stepped down from his current position
Wah, wah.
and is taking some time to himself to watch, I don't know, Nationals games or whatever the fuck these absolute reptiles do when they're pretending to be human.
Yeah, I think Trump getting in there has made all these guys very lazy because they watch him just go out and just shit his pants on national television, be like, "What? No, I didn't shit my pants. That's a new cologne. It's fantastic," and be like, "Why do I have to care? Why do I have to actually put effort in if he's not going to?" And now it's trickled down, and they're all just they're mailing it in now.
Well, as soon as this doppelganger theory was met with gales of laughter for the absolute horseshit desperation it obviously was.
Yeah.
All the same conservative. We were talking about at the Tuesday live show, conservatives in real time were like not coordinating well enough. They weren't all on the same Slack channel. So half of them were like, she's lying.
Yeah.
And the other half were saying, she's telling the truth, but who cares? It's just a bit of high school hijinks and spoofs and goofs and roughhousing. Yeah. Literally, one of the people paid to be his media surrogates called it roughhousing on TV.
That's
You know, that thing you do with members of the opposite sex.
And that thing that if you're saying you didn't do something, you want your spokesman to be out there being like, but it wouldn't be a big deal if.
And here's the other funny thing about the doppelganger theory. All of these people who are like, it is so self-evident what a good, decent man he is. If that were true and they weren't concerned at all that he may have done this, why would they have had to come up with this idiotic doppelganger theory that involved literally Zillow and Google Maps screenshots?
Yeah.
And again, where is this coming from? That he's, we all just agreed he was a good guy. I never heard of this guy until like 2 months ago.
Yeah, it's not like he's some American hero that we all love.
Yeah, he's not fucking Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
I was. If you look into his actual legal career, he was pushing the Clinton Vince Foster thing real hard.
Big time.
He was literally siding with SeaWorld against their fucking trainers who were mauled or killed by their enslaved orcas.
Who's to say how many times getting bitten by an orca is too many times?
Well, Matt,
He helped put Bush in 2000, a brazen theft of an election, talking about some guy's like love
by
of
the way,
norms
we'll get to the latest development, but it's also really funny that he doesn't remember anything at all, can't speak with any clarity about the years he spent in the Bush administration, helping them subvert the law, torture people, and do election theft.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, you asked earlier, how did you fuck this up? How did you all bungle this? Why did you pick this guy? And the answer to that is because they do genuinely hold this guy and all the creeps like him in high esteem.
It's true. They look at him and they're like, what? This guy's great. And it's only outside of the hothouse of these disgusting, this debauched pervert den of just aspiring yellow kings whose only fucking understanding of the world is domination and humiliation and rule over others, whose entire being is oriented around controlling other people, specifically women, sexually and otherwise. They're like, what? He's not cool? What? He's a great guy. And they're all like that.
So they look at his resume. It says, all right, prep school, Yale, worked in the Bush administration, worked for Ken Starr. Oh, he's great. He's a shining star. He's on his way up.
Yeah.
I mean, there was just basically a short list that everyone signed off on, all the Republican senators,
Including
and Judiciary
Susan
Committee,
Collins.
signed
Quote
off on.
unquote pro fucking choice, Susan Collins.
If I recall correctly, the Trump campaign, as in their attempts to unify the party ahead of the election, passed around this list and said, "Look, it's going to be fine. You're going to get one of these judges." Yeah. This wasn't Trump's decision. He just he doesn't know who these fucking people.
He wanted to put his sister on there.
Well, no, we said his first choice was Jeanine Pirro because he watches her on television.
Yeah.
That's the only thing he knows.
Or
about.
Judge Napolitano. One of those guys.
I mean, if Kavanaugh hadn't been Trump's pick, I mean, Trump would be invading against this guy and saying, that's the Pizzagate. That's what the fucking that's the swamp. That's what the sickos are doing.
Yeah.
And the irony of all this, I think, anyway, is that if Trump cared about the Supreme Court or knew what it did or knew what any of these people were, and just picked whoever he wanted. If he didn't have to be sat down by the party apparatchiks and the senators and the generals and given 3 menu options, if he could just do whatever, if he fully understood his prerogative here and said, wait, I could pick anyone, that's hilarious. And if he did that, he would get him in. He would get whoever he wanted.
He would get Bo Dietl on the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Because it would just be another manifestation of hypernormalization.
Yeah.
And there would just be reams of shit about this person. We'd all get too tired to care about it.
Yeah.
Well,
it's because he's still in that pre-Trump mold of a political figure. So that there's still this vestigial concept that those old norms apply to this person. And so they get this treatment that, the new flesh doesn't have to worry about. But so far, it's just Trump. He's out there on his own.
I'm sure they also thought, this would, be a layup based on how fucking easy it was in this first go around. Yeah.
Who, by the way, that motherfucker had a bunch of skeletons in his closet, including credible allegations of fucking domestic violence against his kids.
We never talked about
that never got talked about.
Nobody talked
Which
about
also, the only way this makes sense as him being innocent is if this, these psychos say, some sort of, fucking Ben Carson said, a Fabian Society Illuminati Soros plot to stop Republicans getting on the Supreme Court. Why didn't they roll it out for Gorsuch to save the stolen seat that Garland was denied? Why do they wait for this fucking guy? But the thing is that we talked about how he might be done for, that this is bad because what we haven't talked about is that while this insanity is happening, another accusation has come forward in the New York Times.
In the pages of the New Yorker by Jane Mayer and Ronan Farrow, who broke the first story about Ford. There's a new woman who has made an allegation during his college days at Yale, and there are, I think, 2 other women out there as well.
Unnamed, but police reports in Maryland are talking about investigations that are ongoing about people making accusations from when he was in high school. So this guy's a total fucking scumbag, total fucking sexual maniac, like all of them. And that makes you think he's probably done for. And I agree, he's probably done for. But there's 2 things that might militate in his favor. One is, at this point, especially for Trump, it's about winning, and it's about owning the libs.
Yes.
And also, especially for a guy like Trump who does shit like Kavanaugh does.
Oh, yeah.
he doesn't want to sell some guy out for doing what he does, because that's vicariously a criticism of him. If doing that is bad, if we all agree it's bad, he can't be on the Supreme Court. Well, then why does Trump get to be president? So he's going to have that brain thing of needing to win.
And Trump aside, if you're looking at the overall conservative movement, the Federalist Society, Judicial Crisis Network, again, all these people who have been waiting decades for this moment, they don't want to be denied. And here's the thing. They do not want to be told no.
Yeah.
They do not want to be told no specifically by a woman.
Absolutely.
That's many meanings to that. Yeah. But here's the thing. I forget who wrote about it in Deadspin this week, but they got it exactly right. None of these people believe the bullshit they're saying. They don't even want you to believe it. It is all about power.
Yes.
It is about power, and they want to demonstrate to everyone, their enemies, their political and cultural enemies, and women in general, that they can do whatever they want and get away with it.
The rules do not apply to them. And they're for you. They're to find you and protect them.
And
that's why they
can decide law that governs your life that does not apply to them.
Yes.
This is about power. This is what they want to achieve. So here's what we're seeing now. Like I said, last week they were workshopping a number of different options. Overnight, they've now all switched to she's lying.
Yeah.
Because they're all lying. All the women are lying because it's the only
thing that works now.
That they have left.
And by the way, that's what the MAGA chuds ran with instantly.
Yeah. And it's the only thing that can work with the evidence, because okay, fine, doppelganger, but what about everyone else? And it also conforts to the worldview.
Yes.
Because the entire conservative movement, conservative voters are 100% convinced down the line that they live in a country where they are being assailed by a deep state, a cultural and economic and academic force that is determined to prevent them from exerting their rightful power in this country. And they will do anything that they can to stop it. And they have the power because of their control of the media and academia and big punch of politics. They can do that. So they can pull accusers out of the woodwork until the end of the day because they have that power. That's the world they live in. That's the world that constrains Donald Trump from from bringing the jobs all the way back or whatever the fuck, or building the wall or any of that stuff. It's this force, this malevolent conspiracy within America. And if you think conspiratorially like that, what the hell is getting a few fake accusers? That's easy. That's nothing. That's child's play. So there could be 50 people, and they'd say, yeah, that's just the fucking deep state.
So now they've all gone into full on she's lying mode, but now the other thing, now after the doppelganger theory, like I said, absolutely fell flat. Brett Kavanaugh has one more ace up his sleeve, and he's told his allies and the Republicans on the Senate Judiciary Committee he has produced calendars, personal schedules and calendars of his that he took copious notes on from 1982 that will show that he wasn't at the party. Imagine that. In high school, he went back to his mom's house, went in the attic, dug through some boxes, and found his old high school notebooks, which all said things like, Friday night, didn't go to a party, definitely didn't do rape with our judge. So that's where it's at now. That's the last little wedge that he has left. And the other really funny thing that's going on right now that I fucking love, I saw that guy Con Carroll talking about it on Twitter.
Con!
He said, this is not about whether Brett Kavanaugh gets a seat on the Supreme Court. This man is fighting for his life. And it's like, I'm sorry, is he facing jail time for any of this?
Yeah.
He's auditioning to be one of 9 people who gets to decide law for everyone else in the country. I'm sorry, the burden of proof, this is not a criminal trial. This is about, for lack of a better word, his character. They wanted to make it all about his fucking character. Well, guess what? Now it is. And his character is completely fucking rotten.
But it's part of that demonstration of power. I mean, for little people, you get accused of a petty crime. You know what? You get to go to jail, and if you can't afford bail, you stay there until the trial. Wait, is that a year? Is that 2 years? If it's taken a while, then that's as long as it takes to see justice done, and that's fine. But if you're one of them, than even being accused of something that might lower your status even a little bit, might make it awkward to go to like signatures and have fucking cocktails, even while still being a federal judge.
He'll still be a federal judge. He'll still be vastly wealthy. Let's say he retires from the federal judiciary. He'll fucking walk in the next day to a white shoe law firm in D.C. and do more evil for the rest of his life and be well compensated for it.
Yeah.
There's not a single fucking conservative chud in any of the elite D.C. circles that will turn their back on him for a second. Actually, though, it would be funny if they did. It would be really funny if, like, he couldn't get a table anymore at signatures.
Yeah, he's Dan Aykroyd in Trading Places. I would like to see at least one Democratic senator propose impeaching Kavanaugh.
From the federal judge.
Yeah. How about for lying under oath?
He lied under the during his fucking confirmation.
I mean, the financial shit alone, which is completely inscrutable. We got another email about that saying, how come you guys didn't talk about the financial stuff? It's because I don't even understand it. None of it makes sense.
Actually, it's pretty clear. The guy had like a $90,000 a year job as a judge. He had like 20 grand in credit card debt, and he bought a fucking $1 million house. And he had it, and now he has it.
So where does the money come from?
No one has ever explained.
And what was the deal with the baseball tickets?
He had hundreds of $1,000s in credit card.
$250,000 in debt
that he
said
claimed
was
came from
tickets.
buying fucking
Nationals
baseball
tickets.
None of that makes sense to me.
Why isn't he an Orioles fan, by the way? He grew up in Maryland in the 70s and 80s.
Freak.
He should be a fucking Orioles fan, you mutant.
Oh, you know what I realized today about the Nationals? Because David Roth wrote about the Nationals.
Yes.
A great piece today about...
Yeah, all the freaks
love the Nationals because it's like baseball is like their one... It's like it's when they're playing pretend, like they're normal human beings.
Yeah.
They're like, I just love to be at the ballpark in summer with a dipping dot and beer.
When I was a boy, I always wanted to be a baseball.
I just realized this today. I know I wasn't going to bring him up again, but we read it on the show before we knew all this shit. Mark Judge was the guy who wrote that article for the Daily Caller about conservatives are like the white baseball player. Liberals are like the lazy outfielder who won't shag out a ball. Yeah. We read this on the show. I forgot what episode.
It's a while ago.
But who's the Nats thing?
It was Bryce Harper. He was comparing gritty, run out the
slide
pop
into
outs,
second.
white boy Bryce Harper, and then lazy gold bricker Jason Hayward. And then he also, not only did he compared them to the conservatives and liberals. Liberals are lazy and conservatives are lazy, are scrappy.
But naturally talented because of the extra twitch reflex muscles in their knees. And Bryce Harper is a come to play every day, lunch pail, blue collar, 9 to 5 type.
Not superhumanly naturally gifted.
A guy
who was hitting home runs when he was 12 years old.
That was also Mark Judge. Again, if you want to follow that white rabbit, be my guest. But honestly, I think it's almost driven me insane.
No, it'll do it.
I don't recommend it.
You turn into Rust Cole.
Yeah,
you look at enough of that shit.
Real Rust Cole hours.
Heavy shit, man.
They're still going to be in that room at Georgetown Prep over and over and over again, forever. So yeah, the calendars, there's one last thread here in the Kavanaugh saga that's fucking great, and it picks up again on something we mentioned on stage at the Bell House. The Amy Chua connection, the Tiger Mom connection. We talked about how she was one of these people that they rolled out and did a big op-ed about how good he is to women because my daughter clerks for him.
Yep.
It's since come out.
Lucky to have him as a mentor.
It's since come out that she literally is like the McCabe and Ms. Miller of Yale Law School, keeping Brett Kavanaugh furnished with attractive young women, where she has even told men, don't bother applying, and told the women that he likes you to dress outgoing.
Yeah, show a little leg.
She has told women not to wear suits because that sends the wrong message.
She fucking let her daughter be this creep's fucking clerk. These people are genuinely they do not have a morality.
And she was out right out the gate when Kavanaugh was announced with an op-ed, pre-written op-ed saying, "Oh, he never raped my daughter."
Yeah. These people are just grotesque. The only thing that matters is power and the maintenance of their station. They don't even they putting their children through rituals of humiliation, not just being a tiger mom, but also sending them to be the clerk for some lecherous old creep.
Leering drunk.
It's like They don't think that's bad. They think that's initiating them into the world.
By the way, Amy Chua's husband, also a professor at Yale, currently being investigated for sexual harassment.
What? I don't believe it.
Yeah, that's the Tiger Mom connection. So it's sort of like these are the people who hold him in high regard.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind.
It's like that's like thing that's so frustrating about conspiracy theories and like Pizzagate and stuff is that there is something to it. There's people have an intuitive understanding that the people who rule them are not human in the way that we conceive of it.
Yes.
They do not have human values.
Yeah, they're not bound by the same morality that normal people are.
Their entire lives are built on domination and exploitation. That is their value system, and they act it out in every element of their life. Everything they do is built around dominating, humiliating, and controlling
And again, it
others.
doesn't even need to be like the most extreme example.
Right. It
can
doesn't have to
manifest
be
itself
eating the
in a
baby
million
brains.
smaller, more banal ways.
But the thing is, we watch too much goddamn TV. We have to put it in like these theatrical frames to sort of make sense of it. And then even stupider, because we watch too much fucking politics TV, we have to like to break it up into teams and be like, well, because there's this overwhelming elite that controls all of our lives, it would be too horrifying to imagine that every single one of them were part of this tribe. So I'm going to imagine that some of these people are good, like Donald Trump or whatever. They're the good pedophiles, you know, and it's but they're understanding. There's an intuitive understanding that these people do not have conventional morality and that their lives are built around just control and domination, and that's what they want. That's what they do. It's how they train each other. That's how they like fucking David Cameron having to put his mouth in a dead pig's mouth.
Dead pig's mouth.
His dick. That's part of the ritual. That's part of being like, we humiliate you, then you humiliate everyone else. You control everyone else. After this, that's what it is. And yeah, they don't have to eat babies in the baby's brains in the basement of a pizza restaurant, but that relationship between us and them, and the relationship between each other, that is real. And this Kavanaugh thing has really, really exploited it and shown it. And of course, the actual Pizzagate and Q morons think that it's all a fucking Soros op.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, back to what McMagan said, you know, I would absolutely have a murderer on the Supreme Court. well, here's the
It's still funny.
Well, here's
It's still so funny.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. She's obviously just posting brainlessly, which I admire. That's like
absolutely.
that is just like pure thoughtless, just pure instinctual posting, the purest kind of posting. Yeah. But there is something to that, because we should all be familiar with stories of people who were very violent as young men and turned their lives around. And they rehabilitated, they made amends, and they pursued law degrees and things of that nature.
They achieved a kind of grace in their life.
Yes,
that was not found.
Those stories are all people at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder. When we're talking about Kavanaugh and this disgusting DC land prep school scene, we're talking about young white men who are inordinately wealthy, who have some of the greatest privilege in society, who were also raised in this, you know, instilled with this sick ideology, this grotesque, you know, rigid adherence to hierarchy, the worship of violence, who have never faced any consequences for their actions, and know that they'll never face any consequences for their actions. They know that there's virtually nothing they could do to be expelled from the community, the only community that matters, the communities of power. And therefore, they are incapable of shame, they are incapable of remorse, and they are incapable of rehabilitation, of making amends.
Well, that's the thing, is he never fucking... That's what was the most offensive thing about the McArdle thing, is this teen murderer she's talking about presumably went to jail, admitted they did it or something. They're not on the court saying, yeah, I never did that shit. You know, and those people are lying about me killing their family member.
Yeah.
You know, like they've said, I did a horrible thing and I've learned from it. This motherfucker has never admitted a goddamn thing.
And here's the tell. It is in the utterly outraged reactions of people like, Con Carroll or like all these sort of conservative lanyards and wonks or whatever who are like all turning into like, The Crucible by Arthur Miller, where it's like, I have my name. It is my name, where they're like, presumption of innocence is the cornerstone of Anglo jurisprudence. What they're really saying is if someone like Kavanaugh denies a crime, then that's all we need.
Yeah.
His word is law enough for me.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
who are you
and again,
to question
he's
him?
not facing jail time.
No.
He's just not going to get the job he always wanted to. And that for them is the idea that won't be universally. They just, again, Virgil, like you said at the beginning, they just say things like he's universally respected, and they expect everyone to just lap that shit up and just
a nation that before today, 320 million of whom had never heard of this fucking gooey piece of shit. They're like, oh, you know what? He is
he's
very
the
respected.
best
We all
man
love
of all time.
And as well, to go back to this 80s movie analogy that the conservatives are so fond of now, I think that your average person instinctively treats these Yale prep school conservative psychos with revulsion, and they are the bad guys in all the 80s
It's
movies.
true.
Yep.
He was one of the bad guys in an 80s movie.
And I wish that there were a mass political movement in this country that can capitalize on that revulsion, because we know that the institutional Democrats can't. Because many of them
all the
are
same
the same
fucking people.
They're the same fucking people who go through Yale and go through the prep schools and all that shit.
Slobs versus snobs, baby.
Here's the last thing I'll say on this Kavanaugh shit. Like I said, both him and Ford are going to testify in front of the Senate on Thursday. I expect the Senate Republicans to be absolutely ruthless to Ford in attacking her credibility and memory. It's the only move they have left. We'll see how hard they play it. Like I said, I think Kavanaugh is circling the drain right now, but there's always a chance we're being too optimistic, and they're just going to take the testimony, hold the vote, put him on the Supreme Court. If that happens, I really hope all of the Democrat, all of the liberal people, all the resistance people who have been promising for months and months now that they will turn people out into the street if fucking Mueller is fired or Rod Rosenstein gets the fucking axed or whatever, or any of these FBI people, if Trump fires these people, and he does something so brazenly undemocratic that we will turn hundreds of thousands out into the streets to show that this will not stand. I sincerely hope they will do that if Kavanaugh gets on the Supreme Court, because that is honestly the only thing left to us and what needs to happen. If this fucking creep gets on the Supreme Court that will now decide law for, the women and basically everyone in this country, knowing full well who he is and what he stands for, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people need to turn out into the streets to show that this is not just unjust, but he is illegitimate, and that the Supreme Court is an illegitimate body. Well, that as long as law is being decided by these people.
I said last week that I thought he was cooked after Flake came out and said, well, we're going to have to delay the committee vote on this. And now I think that the clock is ticking, frankly, for them to pull the nomination. And I mean, frankly, by the time this episode comes out, the nomination might very well have been pulled, in which case we're not editing it. You all have to listen to this. Absolutely.
Well, the thing is that the easiest thing for them to do is get rid of him.
Yes, well, they should do it before these hearings,
exactly.
Which they might drag on into another week if more accusers come out, and it's just going to be a gigantic fucking PR disaster for them. Maybe some of them think, maybe like Ted Cruz thinks, I've got the debate knowledge here. I'm going to cross-examine this young filly. Maybe they think, oh, okay, there's a chance. Let's roll the dice on this. Maybe we'll come out looking real good.
She's going to break on Cross.
Yes, exactly.
I made it all up. Soros money. I've not made a stone.
I mean, sorry, it's not gonna happen. It's not going to placate anyone right now, and it's probably just going to contribute to Kavanaugh's precipitously dropping favorability ratings. Right now, about 50% of voters in the country do not want him confirmed, which is staggering for a Supreme Court justice.
Yeah, people generally
nominee.
don't really give a shit. They don't know who these assholes are.
So if they had any sense, they would just pull him right now and just think, well, fuck this guy. Who cares?
Well, yeah, but I mean, I was thinking about this because the smart play, pull him, and then there's that one woman, Bennett or something her name
Bennett
is.
or Barrett or
Barrett,
something.
one of these ghouls.
She's a
basically
stamped
the
Opus Dei Catholic
same
too, but
thing.
probably hasn't done any sexual assaults in her life.
Exactly. But I was thinking about this, and I was wondering. I honestly wonder why they didn't nominate a woman to begin with, because it seems like you go around all these issues. You don't have to worry about any of this stuff probably coming out, and then you get to subvert all of the identitarian arguments.
Yeah, and to
of
be
all the
clear,
Democrats.
this is the vote to overturn Roe v. Wade.
But
this is what we're all talking
that's the
about
thing,
and thinking about.
Is that I kind of wonder if the concern among the people who made this final list and put the peanut butter next to Kavanaugh's name so that Trump would lick it. We're worried that the base, the people who are invested in this, the people who voted for Trump because of judges, don't trust a woman to overturn Roe versus Wade.
I'm actually surprised that these anti-abortion psychos are fine with all these Catholics on the court, because half of them think Catholics are some kind of lizard people.
No, they're the only Republicans who read. They have. No, I'm not kidding.
No, you're right. Yeah.
it's true.
The Protestant lumpen reactionary is an unlettered buffoon.
The Catholics, they may not be stamped in. They may be papists, but they are the people who do homework.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
They're people of the book. You can't get one of these fucking farm fresh dipshits from Patrick Henry University on the Supreme Court. That wouldn't pass muster. You got to get somebody who went through the rigid thing. And the only real psycho conservatives who do that are the fucking hair shirt maniac Catholics.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it obviously is a smart play to pull Kavanaugh right now and nominate that insane woman to the court, because they would look great. And
I know,
she would sail through.
But like I said, I mean, the only time in recent memory that the conservative movement has turned on a GOP Supreme Court nominee was Harriet Miers. And it was because they were worried about whether she was really a solid vote on abortion.
They didn't think that, when it came time to ride, whether she would really bust.
Exactly. And I do wonder if there's some, maybe not even conscious thought of, we can't risk it.
We can't risk the thing we've been working for forever on a woman,
On
even
some
one
broad.
who's one of us.
Exactly. She might get feelings. At
Yeah,
the end. She might get a
exactly.
little dewy-eyed. It might be the wrong time of the month,
Yeah.
So I'm curious at this point what the path to victory is for Kavanaugh.
Just holding. They hold the
McConnell
vote
just
and they all
doing straight gangster shit, and just because they have the votes.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have the votes is the thing. I don't think Flake is or Collins at this point is necessarily a yes.
Well, the thing is that the real problem for them is that finally the red state Dems have a cover to vote against him.
Yes,
which they didn't have before.
That's
when this whole thing started, the reason we were all like, this is going to happen, in 5 days.
It's a Heitkamp.
It's
and
Heitkamp
Manchin.
and Manchin who are running for re-election. They don't want to vote against this Trump nominee right before the election, and that's hey, in those states that is a concern. But now they have a cover to vote against him without it necessarily
you're at
blowing up in
49
their
no's,
faces.
and it's just two defections, and the Senate Republican caucus has been very, very unified on the big things so far. But the fact that Flake, who is retiring, wanted to put off the committee vote, I think is an indication that he could ultimately be a no.
I got to say though that the most amazing thing that could happen is this goes on for a little bit. They try to put some lipstick on the pig. They try to make Bernie look like he's still alive at the party for a while, and then they have to drop it, and then the midterms happen.
Speaking about Weekend at Bernie's, another 80s movie. Not Bernie Sanders.
And then they have the midterms, and they lose the Senate, and then they fucking get somebody in the lame duck, which would be the most baller norm-shitting move you could possibly do.
I was thinking about that because we're about, 6-7 weeks out to Election Day right now. That's really not enough time to select another nominee and then
roll it out,
do hearings, all that shit. No, it's a multi-month process. It would be... they're not competent enough to do that with Trump in the White House. So that I don't think that happens. In a lame duck session, I don't know.
with like a hard timeline and the knowledge that this is the seat, I think they do it. I certainly don't think Mitch McConnell would be above it, obviously.
I mean, there is this one thing that I keep seeing, which is that it strikes me as bullshit, but it's that the whole Me Too and Kavanaugh thing has fired up the conservative base. It's fired up the Trump voters for the election, and I don't think that's the case.
Well, I mean, I would suspect it would certainly fire up the people who are fucking disgusted by this kind of thing. And if, like, again, leading off with Donald Trump and Roy Moore, let's not forget that was like a few months ago.
Yeah, but let's not forget, though, according to Eric Erickson, many suburban moms are watching this and thinking, what if my son got falsely accused of doing something at a party?
I mean, if they pull Kavanaugh and just pick another judge, pick another nominee, that's fine. That'll placate them, because people watching, the conservatives who care about this stuff, who watch it, they know this is is about Roe v. Wade. So
Yeah,
and they
there's
trust
no personality
they're gonna get
cult around Brett Kavanaugh as a person.
No,
Well, which is, I mean,
but here's the thing. I wonder if, let's say they did manage to get to 50 votes, they managed to ram through Kavanaugh even after what's going to be a disastrous hearing. Would that fire up the Republican base? Because doesn't that take off the table the main reason they have to go and vote Republican? You've got the 5 votes in the Supreme Court. Now you just wait for a fucking test case to overturn Roe, and that's it. You don't have to vote Republican anymore. You don't have to do anything.
That's true.
well, okay, we'll see what happens on Thursday.
Yeah, this could all be moot.
Make it all be moot. You know, this is
We're not doing a new
This
episode.
is the content racket we're in. We have to talk about the news.
Things
And-
happen so
yeah.
much now.
So, we went deep on the Kavanaugh stuff, but that's not the only political news going on right now. And I just want to touch briefly on, I think the premier political race, the all-star political race right now: Beto O'Rourke, Ted Cruz, Texas Senate seat. I saw as of today, this race has now been officially declared a toss-up from just very close, but O'Rourke was closing. According to the pollsters, it's now officially a toss-up. Again, this is a head-heart thing. Very hard for me to believe Ted Cruz isn't going to find a way to win this
If I was going to bet money,
election.
it would definitely
This
be
is
on
Texas
Cruz.
we're talking about, but we've seen, Beto, who I'm sure should he get in the Senate would be a pretty standard Democratic
He'd be fucking
senator.
Doug Jones Jr.
I don't think he'd
I don't think he'd be
he
close. I don't
wouldn't
think he'd be
Doug
that
Jones.
bad.
He would not be
Especially for the state of Texas, I think he would fall somewhere in the center of the Democratic caucus on a left-right spectrum, which is not bad for the state of Texas. It's probably better than someone like Feinstein in California.
Well, no, that's an abomination. Thanks to Stav, I just can't stop thinking "beat off my pork" whenever I see his name now. So thank you, Stav.
Well, Beto has really put pressure on Cruz, and Cruz is reacting as you'd
expect
would
a
be.
hissing cockroach man to do.
Just as nasally as possible. They finally had their debate on Friday, right?
Yes.
And the moderator always asks one of those questions. They're like, if you had to say one good thing about your opponent, what would it be? And O'Rourke, who I think honestly is like consciously trying to talk like Obama, is like, oh, he's a good family man. He is committed to his family and children. And I think that's good. And then Ted Cruz is like,
Beto is a sincere socialist like Nicolas Maduro.
so, I mean, that pretty much sums it up. I mean, the thing I saw that was amazing was Ted Cruz's people, in addition to saying that Beto O'Rourke is going to outlaw barbecue in the state of Texas,
Totally.
Put out a video of like, this is Beto O'Rourke. This is what he believes. And it was a video clip of Beto O'Rourke addressing an African-American church and just saying of the Botham Jean case, this is an outrage and a disgrace that a young man can be killed in his house by the police. And then when called to account for it, they're like, oh, he had a small amount of marijuana. And to me and anyone else, I was just like, wow, real deep pull there, Ted. This is really going to damage him. But you know what? To Ted Cruz's voters, that's the right thing to do.
I mean, that's the thing. 'Cause
this is what they see. Forget the context of the Botham Jean case.
literally murdering a man in his own home.
Someone in their own house, not even identifying yourself as a police officer. What they see is Beto speaking to a room full of riled up black people.
He's riling them up.
Yes.
He's
the white
he's
man
instigating it.
He's the outside
stirring them
agitator
up.
who's getting
And the
them
thing
angry.
is like the Cruz people know that he is personally a repellent gargoyle who regular humans find viscerally unpleasant.
Mm-hmm.
And so for anybody who is maybe they'd vote for Beto, maybe they wouldn't vote. He reminds them, like, I might be gross, but I'm what's standing between you and these people taking over.
Yeah.
These people getting riled up and taking over.
Yeah, and so in the polling, Cruz is about ahead by about 2 points or so. A lot of polls show something like Beto at 47, Cruz at 49. I realize it's within the margin of error, but this is a very well-polled race, and I like to think that that's about where it's at. If you had the election today, Cruz would probably win by a couple of points, but that's way too close for comfort. The thing is, you go into the crosstabs of these polls, and it's like 95% of Democrats are going to vote for Beto. 95% of Republicans are going to vote for Cruz. Cruz has that base shored up. And obviously, Texas is a very Republican state, and Republicans have a very high voter registration. So I think they're just fighting over the scraps at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a lot of the national focus because it is so surprising to see a Democrat do so well in Texas. Ted Cruz is such a perfectly repellent figure, such a comic opera villain.
Yeah.
And Beto O'Rourke is the good-looking Obama-esque.
Exactly. He's the guy who's going to save us. Like if
And
he wins,
he has the money to introduce himself to the state.
and if he did win, he would 100% be talked about as the 2020 Democratic nominee. It would guarantee.
Oh,
to happen.
absolutely.
People would. I mean, it's a stupid.
I don't know.
No, they would. I mean, I don't
people
know.
would
if he
talk
do
about it.
Obama
People
a
would-
senator before he ran for president.
Yeah, no.
I mean, people would talk about it, fine.
I don't
but
know if
mean,
he would
I don't
actually
think he
take
would
it.
run,
I don't
no.
think he would. But I'm saying is he would be on lists until the minute he
The
said
point
I'm
is,
not
he'd be
running.
on
he would
VP
he would
on every
instantly
VP
become.
list.
He would be. Yes.
Well, that'd be idiotic.
He would instantly become a leading figure in the Democratic Party.
Making him a
Overnight.
VP, by the way,
he's a giant.
would
killer.
be insanely idiotic because that seat would go back to a Republican and they'd never get it back for another fucking generation because you don't get to run against a collection of slugs in a trench coat like Ted Cruz every fucking time. If he was running against the standard like cornpone Texas Republican, he'd be down by 10 points. If he was running against John Cornyn or one of those guys, he would not be fucking competitive.
So what really holding Beto O'Rourke back is just good old-fashioned disenfranchisement. Texas is a terrible state to try to register to vote. Somebody pointed out before the New York primaries, someone, I presumably from Texas, said, New York has way worse voting laws than Texas. That might very well be the case. New York is pretty fucking bad at shit like that. But in terms of trying to register to vote, it's a nightmare in Texas. According to a Nation article from a few years back, from one of the times when, Democrats were going after the fool's gold of Texas, they pointed out that in order to register people to vote, you have to take classes and get some certificate from a county government.
Yeah.
And you can only register people to vote in that county.
Yeah.
If the demographics of the Texas registered voters match the demographics of Texans, then Beto O'Rourke would absolutely win, by which I mean there would be far more Hispanic voters.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get 6 more years of that butter sculpture.
I don't know. I mean, it's still close is the thing.
It's very close. I mean, here's the thing. Even being as cynical as we all are on this show about the Democratic Party and electoral politics in general, man, I don't know how you can't be rooting for Beto O'Rourke
absolutely
right now.
Because here's the thing.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think that there is any real hope for electoral politics in the near term. And when I say that politics is spite, I don't mean for other people. I don't mean for chuds. I mean for me too.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Me too. Like, I'm only invested in this to the degree to which I can get visceral pleasure out of seeing the pain and anguish of people I hate. And just imagine the story, like, of Ted Cruz if he were to lose.
Incredible.
All right? Like, think of this. This is a guy who is just a pustule, a inhuman, grotesque monstrosity whose entire life he's been reviled and hated by regular humans because they don't register as another human being, and has used that to power a resentment and a will to dominate. And he has decided, well, no one's going to like me. I'm not going to ever get anywhere through charisma. So I'm going to become a debate king. I'm
Yeah.
gonna learn all the stuff. I'm gonna be a nerd.
Remember
I'm
the
gonna be
video
nerd
of
boy.
him in high school?
World domination.
That's just him going, wah, ha, ha, ha,
Yeah,
ha.
I mean, he is the puny human guy that we've talked about.
Yes.
in exemplified, like the Stephen Miller type. And so he put his faith in the meritocracy to give him his position of domination over the world. Like he's like, America is a meritocracy. I might be grotesque. I might look like a blobfish, but I will be smarter and more prepared and more dedicated and more ruthless and more willing to do anything than anybody else, and that will lead me to the top.
And that's how he won his first primary.
And it got him there, and it got him to the Senate, and it got him to the precipice of the White House until party kegmeister Donald Trump, idiot, son of privilege, moron, never studied a moment of his life, never learned a word of any subject, never did a debate class, doesn't know his fucking ad hominems from his two quoques, rolls down a hill in a beer barrel, blows up next to the stage, is like, hey, where the bitches at, and beats his ass. Not just beats him, humiliates
and
him.
by the way, your wife is ugly and
Yes.
insane, and your dad killed John F. Kennedy.
Humiliates him. Not just by insulting him to his face and beating him in the primary, making him campaign for him. Making him go before the RNC and like try to get a little bit of dignity back by failing to endorse him by name, and then getting an entire room full of fucking chuds to boo him on national television.
And then Trump walks in the room and all the cameras turn to him.
Yes. And so then he slinks back to Texas to finish his term and, of course, regroup for his, in his mind, I'm sure, his imagined Nixonian return to power. And then if he were then, at that point, it's like, all right, I'm going to do it. I just got to get reelected. And then, boy, watch out. Dude skateboards in. Fucking weed smoking DUI.
Choom
fucking
gang.
Punk rock. Fucking smart ass burnout. Like he got wedgied by a jock and swirlied and hung from the flagpole, and then the fucking burnout shows up and just blows choom smoke in his face and just rides off with the fucking Senate seat. That is just a Shakespearean fall. But
And
it won't
would
happen
be-
probably.
It might. I mean, I'm a little optimistic. I wouldn't bet on it, but there's definitely a chance.
I'm gonna
a
die.
chance that wasn't apparent a few months ago.
My investment in the midterms are two races only: Cruz eating shit and Scott Walker eating shit. That's all I care about.
I mean, I would dismiss Beto if he didn't have, if he weren't sitting on $10 million right now and just raking it in month after month.
But I mean, to be honest, like all the data nerds keep pointing this out, and it's true. Well, you're spending all this time talking about Texas. Meanwhile, Democrats are poised to win upset victories in Arizona and Tennessee. And it's like, yeah, but that's fucking boring. I mean,
boring.
Yeah.
Like, Kristen Sinema, that fucking awful.
Who will be
Awful,
way
awful woman.
worse senator
Yeah.
than than Beto
Is going to beat some nobody, Sally McCool or whatever the fuck. And like in Tennessee,
Sally
like,
McKenzie.
they fucking like they strapped a car battery to like the decaying corpse of their former governor, and he's going to shamble across the finish line. Who gives a shit? You have a chance to see Ted fucking Cruz, one of the most repellent figures to emerge in the national stage in our generation, humiliated in a way we've never thought possible. Of course, that's what you're going to focus
And
on.
I realize every dollar you spend in Texas is going to be 50 times more consequential in a place like North Dakota, which is a heated Senate race. But like you said, yeah, I want to see him lose. It'd be hilarious.
It would own.
And you know, something that I'm sure all normal people wonder is how Cruz could be even at a 50% level of popularity in the state of Texas. Ted Cruz, who does not remotely resemble a human being, who is the biggest fucking smarmy, phony, baloney asshole that you'd ever meet. And I've seen videos of him speak to the swine of suburban Republican Texans, and I realize, oh God, it's because everyone who supports him is also a fucking pudgy fake cowboy asshole.
Yep.
Yeah, no, they love it. They see him.
He's one of them.
It's like, yeah, he's a fucking he's a fucking tube of Pillsbury stuffing with a fucking cowboy hat on. But so am I. Like I'm full of bullshit. I'm from fucking Iowa.
Yeah, they're all,
I came down here and bought a fucking F-150 and put a hat on, and I'm as full of shit as he is.
Yeah, they're all shambling blobs who strap on fucking guns to their fucking.
They wedge pistols into their teat meat
next to their fucking cell phone holster.
Yeah. Speaking of humiliation and
grotesque abominations.
humiliation, grotesques, and degradation, just one last thing from the elections that I got to mention that was so fucking funny. Paul Gosar, who is running for Congress running for re-election as a Republican in Arizona.
Yeah.
An attack ad was cut on him that featured a bunch of people being like, Paul Gosar is the last person you should want representing Arizona, for X, Y, and Z. Had one of the best turns of any political ad I've ever seen. It gets there these personal testimonials about how Paul Gosar is untrustworthy, bad, and corrupt. They're all of his siblings. 6 of his siblings.
Of his 9 siblings.
6 of his 9 siblings.
What the hell was happening in that household?
Cut an attack ad for his opponent in this race. And they were like, how do I know Paul Gosar is a piece of shit? He's my brother. He's my brother. He's my brother. It was one of the funniest political ads I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, cold-blooded. And then he responded by, well, my family members are just their Soros sicko libs who prize political extremism over family ties. Stalin would have lauded.
What I love about this is a phenomenon we've talked about at great length on this show. MAGA Facebook chuds who are really just annoyed that their relatives and grandkids won't call them back or like their posts or countenance their bullshit to any regard or even invite them to Thanksgiving anymore. We're now seeing this play out in actual political races featuring a candidate's own family who just doesn't want anything to do with them.
Someone with a lot of time on their hands who's a member of all these conservative Facebook groups should make a gimmick Twitter account where you just post screenshots of people complaining that they've been alienated from their families for being totally insane and insufferable.
And one last bit of, unrelated to the elections or anything, but definitely related to our today's theme of humiliation, grotesquerie, and degradation. Yeah. John Podhoretz is back at it again, folks.
You can't keep him down.
Our treat boy is back.
Talking about the real issues. Everybody else is doing corkboard fucking thread shit about Brett Kavanaugh's evil twin. This motherfucker is talking about the real issues.
As where we last saw John Podhoretz on the stage of the Bell House in Brooklyn last Tuesday, he was defending, again, I've already said it, defending Brett Kavanaugh's reputation by referencing the film Revenge of the Nerds.
Yes.
Podhoretz is back, folks. This time, it's not political. It's about treats. This time,
what he cares
it's
about.
Personal.
The real character.
You will, of course, all remember his epic meltdown about Schnippers.
Hey, give me my snipper.
And then the fact that Schnippers, acquiesced to his insane demands and gave him free treats because they were like a half an hour
late.
late.
That's so depressing. I
Podhoretz,
just want one of these motherfuckers to be like, shut the fuck up.
Podhoretz is back at it, folks, from last night. Dear at AMC Theaters, you need to hire more people to work concessions at the 84th Street location. It's a gold mine, and you're losing business due to extreme inefficiency and slowness.
It's a gold. He's literally saying, I have a gold mine that I would give you in exchange for enough treats.
I demand at least no fewer than 5 people to serve me treats. I require a small militia of treat servants.
The Milk Dud station was completely left unattended.
When I'm in
Think of the poor fucking teenager working at that concession stand and seeing John Podhoretz waddle up there.
just blot out the light in the doorway.
When I'm watching,
Sir, the soda machine can't handle much more.
when I'm watching,
She's gonna give.
when I'm watching Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle, I demand an orbit of fucking attendants circling me at all times, like a fucking diorama of the solar system.
I love it. It's a gold mine, and you're losing business due to extreme inefficiency and slowness.
I want my treat.
And wouldn't you know? Yeah, no, he wants teenagers to literally just place gummy bears in his mouth while he watches Mile 22. Wouldn't you know it? AMC guest services. Capitulation to this utter.
Stop it.
Come on.
No, this is like Hitler at Munich.
Yes.
No more.
But here's the thing.
more.
This guy does not have a constituency. There aren't Podhoretz fans out there. I swear to God.
There are a few.
There's like 5 of them.
Yeah, there's 5 of them, and they all live in Manhattan.
Exactly.
Chamberlain coming back from Munich. Treats in our time.
And you know what? I'll say it right here. I live in New York. anyone listening to this who runs any sort of business that involves foodstuffs, if Podhoretz complains to you about you on Twitter, if you tell him to fuck himself, I swear that I will patronize all of us.
We will endorse.
We will do a boycott of your organization. We will
yes.
get everyone we know to buy,
Yes.
to shop at your store,
Yes.
buy your treats,
Yes.
eat your hamburgers.
Yes.
If you tell this grotesque ball of suet next time he spouts off about your service to go fuck himself.
If
no, but you have to literally say, "Go fuck yourself,
Yes.
fat man."
Yes.
Yes.
If Schnippers had done that, if they'd said "go fuck yourself" to Podhoretz, we would have recorded an episode in Schnippers,
Yes.
eating it and talking about how good it was.
We would be recording an episode at Schnippers, like one of those zoo crews.
Yes.
They're like, we're coming to you from the TJ O'Mickel-Hallahans outside the airport. We're counting down all the Rock Block classics today. And you can like hear, sort of the din in the background of people getting, 2-for-1 drinks or whatever.
Yeah.
So all New York City eateries, this is your opportunity.
And movie theaters, apparently.
And movie theaters. And any service industry in the New York City tri-state area. If this disgusting treat man, this fucking Bob, spouts off to you on Twitter and your customer service account tells him to literally go fuck himself, you will be, that is a gold mine because you will get the Chapo bump.
Absolutely.
From that.
Total Chapo bump.
We will go and we will record an episode in your fine establishment.
I just want to, this is what you don't do though. This is an example of what not to do. AMC Guest Services at AMC Helps replies, "My sincere apologies, John. We can do better. I'm sharing your feedback with theater management so this can be addressed. Richard."
Sir,
Hey, Dick, don't sign your tweets.
sir, if you just DM me your address, I'll be happy to treat you to a garbage bag full of popcorn.
Tell him to take all the milk duds and shove them up his fucking ass. And then shit them out later so he can enjoy his treats tomorrow in the Commentary Magazine
they're
office.
warm.
By the way, this is AMC Theaters, 84th Street. I used to see John Podhoretz waddling out of that theater
No shit.
all the time. That was my local theater. I saw him at Rambo 4 and Die Hard 4. So this is also, we all know John lives in the Upper West Side. Again, if you're an Upper West Side movie theater, eatery, consider yourself on notice. If you capitulate to him, like I said, like Hitler at Munich, then we will not have, there will be war.
Yeah.
But if you show strength and negotiate from a position of strength and honor with the full backing of the Chapo militia, the Chapo treat militias.
Yes. Dude, I can put it away, okay? You guys, y'all know me. You know I love a treat. I will eat your fucking treats. I will go order for order with that piece of shit. I will kill myself. I will die face down in a fucking hamburger patty.
No.
To defeat this man.
All Upper West Side eateries and movie theaters, you're on notice. You have the support of the Chapo treat militias.
Yes.
Together, we will put an end to this awful ogre's reign of terror.
By the way, one last Podhoretz
He's like a mafia don just shaking people down.
One last Podhoretz mention. I finally found, when we did the mega Podhoretz episode that detailed his life of embarrassments and humiliations, I did read the Yelp, there's someone responding to his Yelp review, but I couldn't find the initial Yelp review. I found the response that was like, yeah, dude, I was in the restaurant. You made a huge fool of yourself, and people literally applauded when you left the restaurant. This is the actual John Podhoretz Yelp review that spawned that reply. This is from John P. on January 16th, 2016. 1 star. Tonight I showed up for a 7:30 reservation at this restaurant and was told to wait at the bar. There was no room at the bar. But when I emerged from the restroom, the rest of my party was standing by the door uncomfortably, having been told as I had to wait. At 7:42, the restaurant, half empty, still hadn't seated us. I went to the maitre d' and said, I thought this was inappropriate. Oh, you're giving me attitude, he said. You've only been here 7 minutes. I told you we'd seat you when we were ready. I said, are you kidding me? That's the response you're giving me? What kind of attitude is that? He then said, just leave. I said, look, I'm happy to go on websites and write all about this. He said, go ahead, you fuck. This is a true story. Don't go to this restaurant. This is what you do.
Yes, that's the model.
This is Goofus and Gallant.
Yes.
This is Gallant. Tell this ogre to fuck
Yes.
off.
If this maitre d' is listening, or if anyone knows this maitre d', let
will
us know.
comment- we'll
go.
yes.
We'll go there. We'll eat. We'll get you a T-shirt, free T-shirt for anyone who did
Chapo
this.
merch
Yeah.
for this maitre d' and this restaurant. If they step forward, we will eat a meal there. You can sit us whenever you want. We are excellent tippers.
He has to be stopped.
Unlike this asshole.
We can't let this continue. This giant man baby, this sticky fucking infant who's lived his entire life without any boundaries, expecting everything to be catered to him, and wielding his
You know what?
pathetically small fucking internet influence to bend these poor service industry workers to his will. The fucking line has to be drawn here.
Yeah, what exactly is he gonna do to AMC theaters? People are gonna stop watching movies because
Yeah.
the fat man complains.
Yeah, exactly. Five geriatric shut-ins on the Upper West Side aren't going to go and see fucking Boat Trip 2. I don't think so.
I mean, this is the irony of all this. You know, John Podhoretz and his father Norman, founder of neoconservatism. I'm a fucking neoconservative about these assholes.
Absolutely.
We need strength and honor to confront them.
only thing they understand is strength.
You cannot negotiate from weakness in them.
No.
They do not understand diplomacy. They only understand strength and swift, violent retribution.
Absolutely.
Chapo stands with the oppressed maitre d's, waiters, concessions counter workers of the world.
Yes.
Balloon animal makers, hot dog street cart vending guys. I mean,
Rickshaw drivers.
Central Park horses who have to ferry
God,
his
can you imagine?
corpulent girth.
Can I ride the horse? Why can't I ride it?
They informed me that the horse would die. I said, I'm happy to tell you about how I killed a horse online. I'm paying for it. So that is our line in the sand.
Yeah.
And that is our show for this week. Chapo Trap House signing off.